Welcome to practice. We'll begin today seated. I'm sitting on the ground today, but I've got 2 cushions underneath me, and I'm going to use some blocks as well for underneath my thighs to give me a little bit of support. So if you feel your knees are higher, if they're more like this, then put more support underneath the bum, and then you can always have blocks or rolled towels underneath the legs to hold onto the legs and let you feel supported. If it doesn't work to sit on the ground today, then please feel free to start in the chair. Sometimes sitting on the ground can be a little bit too much. So you decide what works for you. There's no right and there's no wrong. We'll begin by closing the eyes if that's comfortable, or assuming a soft gaze. And just allow yourself to settle into this space to arrive at your practice. You might be making subtle movements from side to side, just getting comfortable in your seat. And then start to notice your breath. So today we will work with an Ujjayi breath or an ocean breath. So this is a warming breath. It's said to be detoxifying. And it's a really nice breath to use as an anchor during your practice or something to keep you present and grounded. It's an audible breath, so you can hear it. And I'll demonstrate it first if you haven't done it before. But if you have done it before, go right ahead. You can begin your Ujjayi breath without me. That's okay. So we breathe in and out just through the nose. The mouth stays closed for this practice. And then you begin to take a constriction to the back of the throat. So this creates the sound of the Ujjayi. And if you've never done this before, it's a good idea to imagine that you're fogging up a mirror. So you'll open your mouth just to practice and make that like you're fogging a mirror, or you want to clean your glasses and you want to put that little fog on them. So it's that breath in through the nose. So it might be a loud sound, it might be a quiet sound, it doesn't really matter. And then you'll start to make that sound with the mouth closed. So you can try it with the mouth closed now. Breathe in through the nose. So you begin to feel that sensation or that breath around the back of the throat. I sometimes feel it in the back of my ears, if that makes sense, and the back of my head. And it's like it creates a gentle vibration or tone in the back of the throat as you're breathing out. And then if you've been practicing this breath a little while longer, the sound might start to happen on the inhale and on the exhale. So it might sound a little bit like this. So give it a go. Don't worry how loud your breath is, how quiet it is. Don't worry too much if you need to come back to a natural breath. That's fine too. You might get 1 round of this breath in, or maybe you'll get a few rounds. Just play around with it and see what happens. And if you're already doing the breath, then stay with it. Keep it as your focus. Become aware of any sensations that are coming up as you breathe. So in your own time, maybe you'll close the eyes. You might close the mouth, breathing in and out just through the nose, that gentle constriction at the back of the throat, creating the sound of the waves or the ocean breath. It's almost like the waves rolling in and rolling out. Keep breathing in this way. Can you soften the face and the shoulders? Can you sit a little taller, finding length in the spine? Each time you breathe out, can you bring an awareness down to the low belly? Notice as you breathe out, the belly draws inwards very subtly, So you don't need to suck it in or hollow the belly. Just a subtle awareness of the belly drawing in on your exhale. On your inhale, the belly will naturally soften. It has to soften to allow the air to come into the lungs and the abdominal cavity. As the diaphragm moves down, the belly naturally will expand. As the diaphragm moves up, the belly draws back towards the spine. And we'll just take a few more rounds of this breath in your own time. And you are welcome to stay with an Ujjayi breath throughout our practice today. Or if it works better for you, come back to a natural breath. Either is fine. And then blink the eyes open and bring the gaze back around the room. So good. So let's move over onto hands and knees now. So you can move your props out. I'm using the blocks today during my practice. I've also got a yoga belt. I have a nice thin fleece blanket. These are great because you can fold them a couple of times. And as always, I've got a big stack of cushions. You can't beat the cushions, huh? So let's come over onto the hands and knees. If the wrists bother you now, you can use your blocks. Maybe you've got the blocks under the hands like this. So especially if there's anything going on in the fingers, this can take the pressure off the hands. Or perhaps you're down on forearms with the wrists just completely released. So this is great if you've recently injured your wrist or if there's something going on there. The knees are about hips width apart, toes are pointing back. If there's an issue with pointing the toes back, you can always have them tucked under, that's fine too. Or you can prop up under the knees to give yourself more support. So from here, breathing in, let the belly dip down, extend the tail towards the sky, lift the chest and look up. On your exhale, start to tuck under, rounding in for cat-cow. Let's breathe in as the belly goes down, the gaze lifts, you look up, breathing out, rounding in. So move like this with your breath through the spinal articulation. Cat, cow. It's cat when you round in, it's cow when the belly goes down. So a lot of the poses have the names of animals. You'll notice that. And then breathing in slowly, come back into center, find the midway point between cat-cow, and then turn the fingertips in towards each other. And allow yourself to go gently from side to side. So gentle side to side rocking here. Be mindful of the wrists, especially if there's injury or if there's just a lot of tightness. That's okay too. And then turn the hands out the other direction. A gentle rock from side to side. Really nice. And then for the next one, you might be able to turn the hands all the way around. Don't worry if they don't go there. We're just looking to stretch out the back of the arm here. So it's one area that's quite difficult to stretch. For some people, this is going to feel like way too much or enough. For others, you might be able to rock forwards and backwards. It just depends on that flexibility in the wrists. Really good. And then slowly come back to center, being really mindful here. Release one hand, turn it all the way around the other way. So the thumb is pointing the opposite direction now. The wrists are pointing forwards. And once again, you might stay here. This feels like plenty for me. For some people, they can rock forwards and backwards or even make little circles here. So even if it's just energetic circles, you might be feeling this in the wrists and the forearms. This is particularly beneficial for people who sit at a desk all day. So if you're typing, the hands are the opposite way around. And then very slowly release, take the hands back into center. Let's come up onto the knees and circle the arms up overhead. Release out the wrists. Some circles. Notice how they're doing after that. That can be intense. Go one way and then go the other way. Really nice. From here, let's sweep the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, draw the shoulder blades together, and then draw the ribs down towards the hips. So what I mean by that is try not to let your belly stick out. You're not leaning back like this. You've got a nice strong core, a nice strong spine. Crown of the head moving up, knees moving down into the earth. And then very slowly release. Let's give the shoulders a few rolls out. I'll turn this way, but you can stay where you are. A few big shoulder circles going one way and then going the other way. So good. So from here, let's stay on the hands and knees. I'm just shimmying down the edge of the mat here. I've got my chair for a little bit of support for this pose. And you can also have some padding underneath the knees if you like, especially if one of the knees is bothering you. I know my left knee is the one that's bothering me today. And then we'll stretch out the right leg to the side. So work to get little toe side of the foot down onto the mat and then find a lifting at the instep. So notice if your foot wants to naturally roll inwards like this, or if the knee is collapsing. Think about really energizing that inner line of the leg, grounding the foot down. So good. So if you've got the chair here, it's going to be a really nice support for all of these movements that we're going to do. And then slide the right hand down the right leg, breathing in to reach the left hand up towards the sky. You might stay here. This could feel like plenty, or perhaps you'll side bend, finding an opening on the left side. And then once you're there, can you make a few circles with the left arm? It's like you're playing an air guitar, like a rock star. Rock star pose. Great. Go the opposite direction. Maybe this one's more like the air guitar. I'm not sure. I'm not really an air guitar person. So let's do one more big circle and then take it back into center. Breathing in, come back up and exhale, release. So you've got a few options here. If you're using the chair, you can have it there. If you've got some blocks, you might have them down on the ground, either low or high. Or if it feels good to bring your hand to the floor, that's absolutely fine too. Breathing in, the arms come out to a T. As you breathe out, lean over to the left side and then bring the left hand either to the chair or to the block or the ground, whichever works for you. So all of these options are good. So I'm just going to use the chair for this one. I like the higher support in it. You can have the forearm down. You might need to readjust the leg. So good. And then take the right hand onto the hip. Maybe you can pick up the right leg. So it might come a little bit off the ground. It might come to hip height. It can be anywhere in between. Flex the foot and then make small little pulses with the leg. Really gentle pulses. We're working into the outside of the hip here. So it doesn't have to be a huge up and down movement. And then take it back to center. Can you point the toe? And then flex the foot. Rest anytime you need to. Point and flex. One more. Point and flex. Good. And then keep that point. Can you make some little circles with the right leg? So my circles are quite small. My leg is quite low here, but yours can be higher. Just depends on what's happening in your hip. Go one way and then pause and go the other way. You might be using that Ujjayi breath now. Keep the tummy nice and strong. Take it back to center. Flex for one breath and then slowly release. Breathe in to come up. Breathe out. Let's change legs. So you could just turn around to do this on the other side like this, but I'm going to move my chair over just so you can see what I'm doing. So the right knee is down now, giving my right leg a nice rest. The left leg comes out to the side. Remember, you can have the blocks there at the chair, or when the time comes, your hand might come down to the earth. That's absolutely fine too. We'll breathe in to take the arms out, and then breathing out, left hand comes down, the right arm reaches up. And we'll start to make those circles with the arm. Be mindful you don't bang into the chair, thinking I'm a little close. You keep going with your circles. Just working into the side ribs. Just noticing if one side feels different to the other. And then pause, go back the other direction. So you might even feel that lovely stretch on the right hip since we just worked it. So we had that lovely engagement, the strengthening, and now here's the stretching. And then breathe in. Let's take it back into center. So nice. Take the arms out to shoulder height. Take another inhale here. And on your exhale, reach out to the right. So either the right hand is coming to the chair or the block or the ground. I'm bringing my forearm down for this one. And we'll reach the left hand up towards the sky. For gate pose. So really ground into little toe side of the left foot. Exactly the same as what we did on the other side. We want to energize here around the pelvic area. Press the pelvis forwards And then take the left hand down onto the left hip. Maybe you can pick the left leg up. So you might find one side is different to the other. You can see even in my body, this leg comes a lot higher than the other leg. And then we'll do those gentle pulses. So we're working the muscles at the side of the hip and the back of the bum, our glutes. So glute maximus is at the back, glute medius is here at the side. It's one that often gets weak, especially in women. So if you are of the female form, this movement is really functional for you. It's a really great one to do. And then we'll hold it there, point and flex a few times with the foot. So you might even be looking down at your foot, encouraging it, and then hold the point. Let's make those circles. Now this could be when the hip starts to give out. So if there's any pain, you can rest. Otherwise, keep going. Whew, let's pause, go the other direction. This is where you might need that Ujjayi breath. And then take it back to center, flex and hold, and then slowly release. Ooh, really nice. Let's come back onto the hands and knees and circulate the hips. So you can have the knees as wide as you need to have them here. You might even be readjusting. Going one way and then pause and go the other way. And then come back into center. Really nice and tall on the legs. So I'm going to turn back around this direction and take my chair with me. My favorite prop of all time. We're coming into a lunge. So once again, you might readjust the blanket here. The right foot is coming forwards first. So if you've got the chair, you can use the chair to place your hands on if you like. Or if you've got the blocks might be underneath the hands here. So they could be here. If you don't have any props or if you prefer not to use them, you can have the hands on the thigh. That's absolutely fine too. But just try not to lean directly into the knee joint. And then we'll allow the hips to slide forwards. So you're coming onto the soft part of your knee. If it doesn't feel nice, you can pick up the back knee and then place it back down. And then finding your balance here in the lunge. So you might find you're quite far forwards if you're using the chair or the blocks. See, can you bring yourself back a little so now the shoulders are over the hips. Draw the right hip back, left hip forwards. A few nice long deep breaths here. And you've got the option to stay here or to come at any stage that you need to. Or perhaps you'll breathe in and reach the arms up. Crescent moon lunge. You can take the hands nice and wide here. Spread the fingers. Maybe you look up towards the sky. Grounding through that front foot. Really press it into the earth. So you're not hanging out of the hips. The pelvis is strong. The legs are strong here. We're finding a lovely opening on the left side. A strengthening on the right side. And then take the palms together. Let's bring them down to the heart center. Breathing in, find length. Breathing out, twist to your right side. You can stay here. This might feel like enough. Or maybe you'll open the arms out to a T. One hand might open, the other might hold the chair if you're wobbly. Or maybe the fingertips will reach in opposite directions. You decide. If you're in that twist, breathe in now to come back into center. And then take the hands behind the back. So if you feel wobbly, just bring your hips back so you're more in a kneeling position. This will work absolutely fine too. Hands behind the back. Option to either hold the arms, hold the wrists or fold the arms behind the back, or maybe you'll interlace the fingers and squeeze the shoulder blades together. And now you can really work to open across the front of the chest. Flaring the ribs, maybe lifting the gaze. And then a very slow release. Use any support you have to help you as you change legs. So the right leg comes back, left foot comes forwards. You can start in this kneeling position using whatever props you've got and get nice and comfortable. If you feel really wobbly, then taking the legs further apart can be helpful here. So especially if you need more space at the front of the body. And then allow the knee to come forwards, finding a lunge. And once again, check in with the back knee. You might pick it up, place it back down, make sure that it's happy. There's no pinching, there's no pain. We're looking for stretch on the front of the right thigh here and into the right hip. So the psoas muscles or iliopsoas muscles are hip flexors at the front, and we're engaging the left side. So think about drawing the left hip back, right hip sinks down, but it still stays controlled here. We don't want to hang out of the joints. So ground through the left foot, really press it into the earth, and then you'll feel that energy moving up from the legs right up into the pelvis. You've got the option to stay here, or breathing in, the arms might reach up. Notice the energy here from the ground right up to your fingertips. Notice how the mind is. In particular, if this is a challenge for you, maybe you're accepting the challenge, or maybe you're thinking, no, I'm going to look after myself today, I'm holding back. Only you know what's right for you. And you can stay here or come back to any stage of the pose, or maybe you'll come with me. Hands to the heart center. Breathe in, find length, and breathe out to twist. So once again, you've got the option to stay here in the twist, or maybe you'll have the support of the chair. Open the arms out to a T. Listen to the sound of your breath here, in particular if you're twisted. Where is the breath going to? And then use an inhale to come back to center. Exhale, release. Breathe in. Let's take the arms behind the back. You can fold, hold the wrists, or take an interlace, whichever works for you. And once again, if you're wobbly, then bring the hips back over the knee, so it's more of a kneeling position. Perhaps you'll even lift the gaze a little. There might be wobbles. That's okay. And when you're ready to release, it's a slow release. Give the shoulders a little roll out after that. And then we'll take the left knee back. So we're back in a kneeling position. So if you have your chair, have it right in front of you now. If you know the pose downward facing dog, you're welcome to come into it. I'm going to do it today with the chair. So I'm holding onto the chair, and I'll step one foot forwards and then the other foot forwards. And I'll begin to walk my feet back. I've got a nice big bend in the knees. I'm just going to move that blanket out of the way. A nice big bend in the knees. And I'm looking back towards my feet, getting a lovely stretch into the armpits and the side of the body. So notice if your back is really rounded up like this, if it's in that flexion, then bend the knees more, and that will help you to come into our modified downward facing dog. With the next inhale now, look forwards, find length in the spine. You've got the option for straight legs here if that works for you. And then exhale, folding down a little more. And then start to walk the feet towards the chair. If you're in downward facing dog on the ground, you can always come to lower the knees down on the earth. That's fine too. If you're coming with me, begin to walk the feet forwards into a forward fold. Any variation of a forward fold is absolutely fine. If you're on the hands and knees, you'll step forward to the top of the mat and take your forward fold. I've got the forearms down here on the chair, and I've got the knees bent. Thinking about lifting the hips high. If your legs naturally straighten, then you can go there if that works for you. And then with your next inhale, gaze forwards and start to roll yourself up slowly. You can let the chair help you. Come all the way up to stand. Breathe in, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to the heart center. Really nice. So from here, we'll turn the chair around. So I've got the high end now facing towards me. Coming to stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. So your choice to have hands on the chair, down by the side, or at the heart center. All of these options are good. Perhaps you'll close the eyes for a moment or two. Tuning back in with the breath. listening to the sound of the breath. Grounding through all four corners of the feet. A slight lifting at the instep. And energy traveling up from the soles of the feet right up through the legs and into the pelvis. Can you bring your pelvis to a neutral position? So you might even move the pelvis a little bit, sticking the bum out and then tucking the tail under, finding just about a halfway point here. And then standing up really tall once again. The shoulders relax down the back. Crown of the head moves upwards with each inhale. Soles of the feet grounding down. And then slowly blink the eyes open. Give yourself a moment. If the eyes were closed, let the gaze come back around the room. And we'll keep the right foot forwards. Let's step the left foot back for a warrior one variation. So you can always have that back heel lifted. If there's anything going on in the back of the left leg, you might have a little bend in the knee. That's absolutely fine. But if everything feels okay, I'm zigzagging my leg back just to get a little deeper into the pose. You might straighten the back leg and then think about drawing left hip back, right hip back, left hip forwards. So we're thinking about the hips pointing towards the top of the mat. You can stay here with the hands on the chair if you like, or breathing in, reaching the arms up, soft shoulders, a soft gaze. Perhaps you're looking up between the fingertips. Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Let's take a few long deep breaths here. And very similar to what we did in our lower center of gravity in the lunge, bring the palms together and take them to the heart center. Breathe in here, and then as you breathe out, maybe you can twist to the right side. So don't worry how far you're going here. Find that spinal twist. Keep the integrity of the legs if you can. And then maybe you'll open the arms out to a T. So if you're feeling wobbly, I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm coming closer to my chair. So I've got my foot right in. My knee is coming right against the chair here for support. So I'm not going to come into a lunge. And then I can take the twist here, holding onto the chair. So this just makes it a little bit more stable and you get more of a twist in the spine. Really nice. Let's breathe in now. Come back into center. Reach the arms up. And then perhaps you can bring the hands behind the back just like we did before, either holding opposite wrists, opposite elbow, or you might find that interlace. Good. If you've got the chair there in front of you for support, you can always use it. It's just stabilizing here at my ankle. Your chair might be a little further back, so it could stabilize you at the knee. And then a slow release. Step up to the top of the mat. And we'll give the hips a few circles out. Going one way, and then pause and go the other way. So good. Let's do the second side. So this time, left foot comes forwards, right foot steps back. And again, you can be really close to the chair the same way that I am, or you might be a little bit further back. You might not even be using the chair at all. I'm just going to readjust here. Sometimes it takes a little bit of wiggling to get into. So as I said before, if everything's okay in the back leg, you can straighten the back leg. I'm going to use a little block here underneath my back heel to remind me to keep my back leg bent because I've got an injury. But you can definitely straighten yours if everything is healthy in your body. So the beautiful thing about the props is that if we do have an injury or if something is going on, either temporarily or it could be something permanent in our bodies, then we can find ways to use props so that the poses are still accessible to us. They're still the same pose. We're still doing yoga, but we've just got these props to help us out a little bit. So thinking about drawing left hip back, right hip forwards this time. Ground through the front foot. You've got the option to stay here, or maybe you'll reach the arms up overhead. Good. Can you press your back heel back? Maybe you can straighten your back leg. So nice. And then as we did before, take the hands together, bring them to the heart center. Inhale to lengthen and exhale, twisting towards the bent knee. So just twisting as far as your body wants to go. And now maybe you'll use the chair to help you here. Reaching the left arm out. Or you might have the arms out to a T. You might be staying with the hands in prayer. If you're in that twist, maybe you can really press back through the back leg. Good, and then breathing in slowly. Let's take it back into center, untwist, and exhale. Oh, sorry, I nearly forgot to bring the hands behind the back. Breathing in, arms to a T. Exhale, hands behind the back. So again, either folding or holding opposite wrists, or maybe you'll interlace the fingers. And remember, you can have that support of your chair in front of you. Perhaps your knee is against the chair. And I'm going to show you this at the wall. It's another pose. You can come at any stage that you need to. Maybe you're just glancing up to have a little look. So you could be doing this at the wall here for a little bit of support. Just get that block in there. So it could look like this. Another great way to support yourself in your yoga practice if you're wobbly. And then you slowly release from wherever you are. Let's step back up to the top of the mat and circle out the hips. A few nice big hip circles, going one way and then going the other way. And then from here, I'm going to bring my chair in front. You can have it wherever works for you. Move the blocks out of the way. And then take a nice wide stance with the feet. Toes out, heels in, straight legs to begin with. So you can come as low as you like in this goddess squat. What we don't want is for the knees to start falling in. So find that happy medium between bending the knees but still staying really strong in the legs. So grounding through all four corners of the feet. You might even pick the toes up and then peel them back down onto the earth. Standing tall, shoulders stay over the hips throughout goddess squat. So I'll just show you what that looks like from the side. So we'll have the shoulders over the hips. Remember, we're not leaning forwards like this. We want to stay really strong. And that flexion here is happening in the hips. So when you're ready, breathing in, reach the arms up. Breathing out, squatting down. So move with your breath. Now you can come out of this pose any stage that you need to. You can always rest when your body asks you to rest. There's no right or wrong. You might have the two hands on the chair and just be doing the legs, or maybe you've brought those arm movements in. I just did it naturally. Breathing in, reach it up. Breathing out, squatting down. Good. So you can come out, or you can keep working, coming up and down dynamically, or come with me. Let's hold that squat. So it's like a horse stance. Small tuck of the tailbone, grounding through the feet. And then you might take one arm down onto the thigh, or you might hold your chair. Reach the other arm up and over. Find that lovely side bend. Try not to lean forwards. Inhale, let's come back to center. Exhale, release. Change sides. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, a side bend. You might have the arm down on the thigh. That's a little bit deeper. And then breathe in, come back to center. Exhale, release. Inhale, standing tall. Exhale. Let's zigzag the feet back in towards each other. Give the hips one more little hip circle. Favorite movement. Going one way and then going the other way. And then we'll come back into center. So we're coming back down onto the mat for a back bend. And you can have the chair nearby if you like to take the back bend with the chair. I'm going to show you that in a moment. Or you can just come to sit down on the ground. You can sit on a cushion or blankets, have your blocks nearby, and have your belt ready as well. So we'll come straight into the forward folding after the back bending. So you might be sitting on your cushion for a back bend. And remember, our back bending is where we stretch the front of the body and we engage the back. So this can be done standing, if we stand and lean back with the arms above the head. It can be done seated, which we're going to do now, or it can be done lying down on the ground like bridge pose or wheel pose, or you can even do this lying down over something, so maybe a block or a bolster. But today we're taking a seated back bend, and it's the exact same action. The first option will be hands stay on the thighs or on the knees. The second option will be hands down behind you. And the third option will be to hold onto the legs of your chair. So if you're using your chair, you need to have it really close to you so you'll be able to find it. I don't recommend twisting into this pose. So sometimes I see people looking around for one leg of the chair. They twist like this and then they turn around and they twist to get the other one. I recommend you figure out where the chair is first. And then when the time comes, the two hands will come back towards the chair together. So this just cuts out the unnecessary twisting, especially around the lower sacrum area. So when we're ready, take a breath in, extend the heart center forwards, lift the gaze gently, hands onto the fronts of the legs. Take a few breaths here. So never holding, never retaining. And then you'll have the option to either come out or to bring the hands behind onto the ground, or maybe you'll find the legs of the chair. So you can stay at whichever one works for you. You might try all three and decide you prefer one over the other. You might come in and out a few times as well. That's absolutely fine too. Just move mindfully with awareness. And whenever you're ready to release, it's a slow release. Bring the gaze back down first. Hands come forwards if they're not already there. And we'll just take a few gentle shoulder rolls, especially if the hands are behind the back. One way and then the other. And then a few gentle body circles. Just think about stirring the pelvis when you're making this movement. That tucking under as you go back, sticking the tail out as you come forwards. And then pause, go the other direction. There might be clicks and cracks and pops. That's okay. As long as there's no pain. And then breathe in, come back into center, sitting up nice and tall. So for the next pose, you can have bent knees or you can have straight legs. You get to decide. As I said, we will use the belt, and I did tell you to have it nearby. And then I left mine really far away. And the same with the blocks. So if you've got blocks, cushions, rolled towels or blankets, you can have them nearby too. So as I mentioned before, I'll just put these out of the way. I've got an injury in the back of my leg. So if you're suffering with anything like this, you can have your blanket rolled and you could put it under the injured leg. So underneath the knee of the injured leg for a little bit of support. So that might work. Or if you need to keep the knees bent, that's absolutely fine too. I'm sitting on my cushion and I'm drawing my sitting bones back so that I can come into a position where my pelvis is tilting forwards. I want my tailbone lengthening back. So for a lot of us, we come to sit and our tail tucks under. It's almost like we're going to roll back. Then we start to slouch and it can be really difficult to do a forward fold. So the more support that you place under the sitting bones, the more that you can come into that pelvic tilt. So I like this option of slanted cushions or towels or blankets for a forward fold. And as I said, option here for bent knees or straight legs. Either is absolutely fine. And like that, if the injury is just on one leg, maybe you've got one bent leg. That's cool too. If you're using the belt, have the belt right there now. Take a breath in to reach up. And as you breathe out, start to fold yourself forwards. So if both knees are staying bent, you might be bringing the belly towards the knees, reaching for the feet. If it feels good to start to straighten the legs, start to press the heels away from you, sending the backs of the legs down towards the earth. If you're using the belt, you might place it around the balls of the feet. And And then think about staying broad across the chest. So your forward fold might look completely different to mine, and that's absolutely fine. As I did say, I'm having a very modified forward fold today. Breathe into the back of your body and just go to the place between effort and ease that your body wants to go to. Listen to the sound of your breath. Notice if there's shaking anywhere in your body. Can you pull back so you come to the point before the shaking? That balance between effort and ease. And when you're ready to unfold, it's an inhale to come up and an exhale to release. Really nice. So we'll bend up the right knee. And then we'll step the right foot across to the left side of the body. So your foot might be further up. For some of you, your foot's going to be up here. For others, your foot is going to be right down at the ankle. So it's more like a crossed leg. It can be anywhere in between. And then we flex the left foot, sitting up really nice and tall. Hold on to the right knee with the left hand. And then on your next exhale, start to twist and turn to your right side. So if you've got a block, you can have the block behind you. Oops, my cushions are in the way. I'm just going to shove some of these things out of the way. You can have the block behind you quite close into your body for a little arm extension. And then you move into that twist. And if you feel like you need more from this twist, come back into center and then take another inhale, reach the left arm high. On your exhale, twist and then hook the elbow over the knee. So any of these options are good. Can you sit a little taller with each inhale? And then can you twist a little deeper with each exhale? No forcing, just exploring, seeing what feels good. And then breathing in to slowly come back to center and exhale to release. So maybe now you can bring the left heel a little closer to the hip. So it's like my right knee is stacked over my left. And once again, of course, I have to do loads of readjusting here. I'm taking this roll blanket and I'm actually popping it a little bit underneath my right sitting bone here so that I've got that support. And then I've got the block underneath my knee. So you might not need that much support in your body. That's okay. The left foot stays extended. We'll breathe in, reach up, and breathe out, start to fold forward. So you might not go very far, that's okay. If you've got the belt, you might place it around the ball of the foot, flexing the left foot. Get that lovely juicy stretch into the back of the left leg. And then slowly release, breathing in, come back up. Take the belt into the left hand and reach it all the way up. And then bend the left elbow. Maybe you can hold onto your left elbow with your right hand. So you might be staying here. It's a great place to stay. Or maybe you'll bring the right hand behind and find the belt for cow face arms and cow face legs. Gau Mukhasana. So gau is the Sanskrit word for cow. Mukha is face. And asana is pose, Gau Mukhasana. Really good. When you're ready to release, it's a slow release. The shoulders might feel a little stiff. Give them a little roll out. And then remove any props that are around you. Let's take another forward fold. So once again, you can have the bent knees or straight legs. Breathing in, find length, and breathing out, folding from the hips. Relax the head down wherever you're coming to. You might start with bent knees and then begin to straighten the legs, grounding the backs of the legs down into the earth. If your legs are straightening, perhaps you'll flex the feet. You might hold big toes or the outside of the little toes. So many options. Maybe you're using your belt. And then we'll breathe in slowly, start to come back up and exhale to release. So from here, let's stretch the right leg down straight, bending up the left knee, and we'll step the left foot over to the right side. So just like I did before, I'm giving myself a little bit more support here underneath my left sitting bone. I don't think I need the block on this side, but you might find yourself that works. And then holding onto the left knee with my right hand, breathing in to find length and breathing out to twist. So if you've got a block or a cushion behind you, maybe the hand will come to that or it might come to the ground. But try to avoid that leaning back into the pose. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale as you twist. Can you keep the right foot flexed? The answer might be no. And if you want to go deeper in this pose, breathe in first, come back to center. Exhale, release. Inhale, right arm reaches. Exhale, you twist and hook the elbow over the knee. So one side might be completely different to the other side. I know I definitely couldn't do this on the other side, but on this side it just feels a little bit more accessible. And that's normal in our bodies. You might decide to try and then come back to the first stage. That's fine too. Notice that restriction of the breath here as you're twisted. There's not as much space to breathe into. And then slowly coming back into center to release. Stacking the left knee over the right this time. So don't worry if the knee is still quite high. Look, you could have a little bit of support there as long as it's not pressing into the knee joint. Or if you've got that injury to the lower leg, you can have it underneath. All of these options are good. And then flex the right foot. Breathing in, reaching up, breathing out, folding down. So if you've got your belt, you might be holding onto it. If you've got the hands right down at the foot, you might be holding the sides of the foot. I'm going to really ease back in this pose so that I don't end up stretching the back of my right leg. But if your right leg is healthy, then go for that stretch and enjoy every moment of it. When you're ready to come up, it's an inhale and exhale to release. So good. This time we'll bring the belt into the right hand. Reach it up towards the sky and then bend the right elbow. And then maybe you'll take your left hand and encourage the elbow in a little bit. So you might find now you start to round forwards like this. Try to sit yourself up nice and tall. And then sweep the left hand behind. Perhaps you'll take a hold of the belt. Elbows going in opposite directions. So left elbow towards the ground, right elbow towards the sky. And the fingertips might creep in towards each other a little bit. Gomukhasana, cow face pose. And when you're ready to release, it's a slow release. Oh, give those shoulders a roll out. And then unravel the legs. Let's take a windshield wiper. So you're going to need to come off all of the support for this. Hands behind the back, knees nice and wide, and then windshield wiper from side to side. Tune in with your spine here. Just notice how the spine is feeling. We did loads of twisting, loads of back bending during this practice. So should feel like a whole new spine, hopefully. And then when you're ready, make your way to Shavasana. So put on whatever clothes you need. If you want to put a nice song on your playlist, you can put that on now. Prop yourself up. Perhaps you're using the chair or the wall for support today. I always like to have a pillow underneath my head. And I absolutely love legs up the chair. My favourite pose. I say that about a lot of poses, don't I? My favourite pose. So if you're using the chair, turn it around. Put your blanket or a cushion over it so that it's nice and soft here where your legs are going to be. And then you can turn yourself around. Come over close to the chair. Lie down. Make sure your cushion's in the right place. And then lift the legs up onto the chair. If you're taking legs up the wall, then you can swing the legs up the wall. Or you might just be lying down on the earth with support. Perhaps you've got a bolster under your knees or a rolled cushion under the knees. That works too. Just allow yourself to settle into this space. Let go of the need for doing and just be here for these last few moments of our practice. Return to a natural breath, so let go of the Ujjayi breath. Allow every muscle in the body to relax down. Notice the thoughts as they come and go. Just let them flow in and out. You can choose not to engage, just to be here. Nothing to do, nowhere to go for these last few moments of Shavasana. Complete relaxation. And you are welcome to stay here as long as you like. You can allow the video to play in the background, or if you're ready to resume your day, allow the breath to deepen. Start to gently move the fingers and the toes, stretching out the arms and the legs, and taking any movement that you need to take at the end of your practice. And slowly making your way back up in your own time. Sitting comfortably at the end of practice, I invite you to bring the hands together in Anjali Mudra. So this is a hand gesture or an energetic hand placement, bringing the two sides of the body together, the left and the right. And it's a great way to offer peace and thanks to one another, and to close our practice with the word Namaste, which means I honor you and I bow to you. The light inside me sees the light inside of you. Namaste.